New Year's Eve had always felt overrated to me. Every year was the same. People pretending they were starting fresh, counting down like a ritual would magically fix things. I usually went along with it, but that year, I already felt detached before the night even started. I'd driven out to a small get-together at a co-worker's place, way outside town. Just a few people, cheap drinks, loud music, and forced laughter. I stayed long enough to be polite, but by 10:30, I was already checking the time, thinking about my bed and the quiet of my apartment. I didn't tell anyone goodbye. I just grabbed my jacket and walked out into the cold. The air was sharp, biting in my face as I got into my car. The road back home cut straight through farmland. Miles of nothing but fields, broken fences, and the occasional abandoned barn. No houses, just darkness. I liked it that way. The quiet gave me space to think. The radio barely picked up anything, so I drove in silence, watching my headlights carve a narrow tunnel through the dark. Every so often, faint flashes lit up the horizon. Fireworks from towns too far away to hear. I remember thinking how strange it was that so many people were celebrating while I was alone on an empty road. Around 11:45, my phone buzzed. A generic Happy New Year text from a group chat I barely talked in anymore. I didn't reply, just tossed the phone onto the passenger seat. The road stretched on. Same view, same darkness. Then my dashboard lights flickered. Once, then again. My heart sank before anything even happened. I'd owned this car long enough to know when something was wrong. The engine coughed. I eased off the gas, hoping it was nothing. Then the engine died. The car rolled forward on momentum before coming to a stop on a shoulder. I sat there with my hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead, listening to the ticking sound as the engine cooled. Of course, I muttered. I tried the ignition. Nothing. Not even a click. I checked my phone. 1 bar, then none. No signal. I took a breath, trying to stay calm. It was cold, but not deadly. Cars passed this road often enough. Someone would come. I stepped outside. The cold hit harder than I expected. It felt like it went straight through my jacket. I looked up and down the road. Nothing but darkness. That's when I noticed the pickup truck. It was parked behind me, maybe 100 yards back, sitting half in the shoulder, half on the road. Lights off. Just a dark shape against darker fields. I was sure it hadn't been there when I pulled over. At first, I felt relief. Maybe someone had stopped to help. I waved. Hey, no response. I walked a few steps toward it. Car trouble. I called. Still nothing. Then the driver's door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, heavy jacket, hood pulled up. I couldn't see his face. He didn't speak. He just stood there, looking at me. Something about that silence made my stomach tighten. Battery's dead, I said, trying to sound casual. You got cables? He started walking toward me. Slow, unhurried. I took a step back, then another. He stopped about 20 feet away, close enough for me to see his breath fogging in the air. Then he raised his hand. A tire iron caught the faint light from my headlights. That's when fear finally snapped into place. I turned and ran back to my car. I slammed the door, locked it, and tried the ignition again, even though I knew it wouldn't work. Behind me, footsteps approached. He came into view of my window and tapped the tire iron against the glass. Open up, he said calmly. I shook my head, fumbling for my phone. I'm calling the cops. He smiled. Pale, thin. No signal out here, he said. You already checked. My blood went cold. He lifted the tire iron. The first strike cracked the window. The second shattered it inward. I scrambled across the seats and kicked open the passenger door, diving out as shards of glass fell behind me. I ran into the field, boots slipping on frozen dirt. Behind me, I heard him laughing. I didn't stop until my lungs burned. I dropped into a shallow ditch and pressed myself into the mud, barely breathing. I saw his flashlight sweep across the field, heard his boots crunch as he searched. You can't hide forever, he called. I stayed still until the footsteps faded. When I finally crawled back to the road, his truck was gone. My car was wrecked. Window smashed. Steering column torn apart. I walked nearly 3 miles before I got a signal. The police never found him. Now, every New Year's Eve when I hear fireworks, I think about a man smiling through broken glass and how close I came to not seeing another year. I didn't have plans that New Year's Eve, not because nobody invited me. I just didn't care enough to go. Work had been rough. Life felt stuck. I wanted quiet more than noise. So I stayed in my apartment with a frozen dinner, a cheap drink, and the TV set to some countdown special. The building was old, really old, the kind where every sound traveled through the walls. You learned your neighbors' routines whether you wanted to or not. That night, the building felt emptier than usual. A lot of people were gone, probably at parties or with family, which is why I noticed the silence from the apartment next to mine. Apartment 12B had been empty for months. The landlord told me nobody would move in until after the new year. Something about repairs and paperwork. I'd gotten used to the quiet on that side. So when I heard footsteps through the wall, I frowned. At first, I assumed it was pipes or the building settling. But then it happened again. Clear pacing. Back and forth. I paused the TV and listened. There was again. I knocked lightly on the wall. "Hey, walls are thin," I called. The footsteps stopped. I waited. Nothing. I tried to shrug it off. Old buildings make noise. That's what I told myself. 10 minutes later, I heard knocking. 3 slow taps. Not on my door. On the wall. My stomach tightened. I stood up and knocked back. "Hello." Silence. I opened my front door and peeked into the hallway. Empty. Long yellow lights buzzing overhead. No one there. I closed the door, unsettled now. Then I heard a whisper through the wall. So cold. It was faint but clear. I pressed my ear to the wall. "Who is this?" "I can't feel my hands," the voice said. It sounded like a man. Weak. Shaking. My mind raced. Someone must have moved in early. Maybe hurt. Maybe drunk. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Do you need help?" "I fell," he said. I grabbed my phone. "I'm calling someone." "No," the voice snapped. "Don't call." That change in tone made my skin crawl. The TV in the background started the countdown. 10 minutes to midnight. I stepped into the hallway and walked toward 12B. The door was cracked open, just a few inches. I pushed it. Inside was darkness. No lights, just empty rooms. "Hello." I called. My voice echoed. Then I heard breathing, slow breathing, from a bathroom. The light flicked on by itself. Inside, the tub was full of dark water, and floating at the surface was a pale hand. I stumbled back as the light went out. The breathing stopped. My phone buzzed. No signal. From behind me, through my wall, came knocking again. 3 taps. I ran back to my apartment, slammed the door, locked it. Then scratching started. So cold. The voice whispered again. I turned the TV up, covered my ears. The countdown hit 0. Silence. Morning came. The landlord told me nobody had been in 12B. Then he showed me the stain in the bathroom, shaped like a body. A man had drowned there the year before. I moved out that week. But sometimes, when rain hits the windows just right, I still hear 3 slow knocks. I thought spending New Year's Eve at a remote cabin would be peaceful. Just me, my dog, and a frozen lake in the middle of nowhere. The cabin belonged to a co-worker who said I could use it for a few days. 1 room, a fireplace, and a view of the lake through big front windows. We arrived just before sunset. The lake was a flat sheet of white, stretching into the trees. It looked solid. I took the dog out for a walk while there was still light. That's when I noticed footprints on the ice. They came from the far tree line and stopped about 20 feet from shore. Just stopped. No return tracks. They were big, deep, like someone heavy had walked out and vanished. I told myself they had fallen and been helped back, or the wind had covered the rest. Still, I kept the dog close. After dark, we went inside. I lit a fire, made some food, and tried to relax. Around 11, the dog lifted his head and growled at the window. Out on the lake was a dark shape, A person. I shone a flashlight. A soaked man stood there, facing the cabin. I locked the door. The figure raised an arm and pointed at the cabin, then vanished into the dark. Later, I heard ice cracking, then footsteps. He returned, closer now. Pale face, glassy eyes, mouth open. He pressed a wet hand to the window. Cold, he whispered. I fell through. Help me. My phone alarm started the countdown. He began pounding. When midnight hit, he vanished. Only wet footprints remained, stopping 20 feet from shore. I left at dawn. A local later told me a man drowned there one New Year's Eve years ago. Every year, someone sees him waiting.